Hey developers, welcome back. I am here with part 2 of our CRUD video series. In the last lesson, we have created our basic structure and set up Bootstrap. We have created our database also. If you haven't seen the previous video, go back and watch that video first. Link to the previous video is in the description below. So in this lesson, we are going to complete our read operation, which means we will fetch all our records from the database and will display those records on our page. So let's code. Let's have a look what we have. This is our table and we have 4 columns: ID, name, city and designation. So we are going to fetch records from the database and we will display those records here. Okay, so let's go to the database, localhost, and my port is 8888 and PHP myadmin. So we have a database employee and we have a table employees. Okay, right now our table is empty, so let's insert some data. So say name John Doe and city will be London and designation will be project manager. Okay, one more record, name will be Jack Smith and city will be New York. Okay, New York, and designation sales manager. Okay, so ID we don't need to put because ID will be auto increment. So go. Now we have data in our table. Okay, John Doe, Jack Smith and city London and New York. Okay, so go back to our project and I'll open project in my Sublime text editor. So as we are using object oriented programming, so we need to create some classes. Okay, in object oriented PHP we have classes, we have methods and we have properties of that class. Okay, so what I'll do for classes, I'll create one new folder inside our project folder and I'll call this classes. Okay, so in these classes we will keep all our classes. So first file we are going to create is for our database connection. So this file will call as db.php. Okay, so I'll open PHP tags and I'll write class, the name of the class. I'll keep the same name as our file name, and why this I'll explain this little bit later, but right now we'll keep the same name as our file name. So class db and open curly braces. So inside our db class we are going to create one protected method, function connect, and inside this method we will have our connection. All right, so here we will have our connection. So for this I want to suggest you guys one thing. You don't have to remember all the code. Okay, you can get it from any website. So I'll suggest one website for this, and that is, type in Google W3 schools. Okay, this website W3 schools, and you can go to PHP tutorials learn PHP and MySQL connect. So down you can see example of PDO. So just you have to copy this code from here and go to our code and you have to paste that. That's it, simple. So we have our try, our catch, and this line here is making our connection. Only we have to edit something. We have our server which is localhost and DB name, our DB is employee and username is root and password also root. Okay, so here we have to set some attributes so we can catch our error in catch block. So here instead of echoing this, what we can do, we need this connection in our other classes. So we need this variable here because we have saved our connection in this variable. So what we can do, we can just return this variable which is con. Okay, so whenever we call this method connect, so it is returning our connection, so we can use that connection wherever we want. Okay, all right. So next file I am going to create in classes, which will be employee.php. Okay, so in this file we are going to keep all our logic, so we can select all the data from database, or we want to insert our data, or we want to update our data, or want to delete something. Okay, so all the logic I'm going to keep in this file employee. So we need a class and I'll name it, as I told you, we need the same name. I'll explain this in a minute. Employee, and we need database connection, so we need to extend this to DB. All right, so in this class we are going to fetch all data, so we are going to select all data from the database. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. Okay, for that I'm going to create one public function method, we can call in object oriented PHP, and I'll name it like select. Okay, so because we are selecting from the database, you can name it whatever you want. But so the first thing in this method, I'm going to write a MySQL query string. So I'll take a variable and I'll write a query. So we are selecting, so I am going to use select all, this asterisk means all, from and our table name which is employees. Table name is employees and our database name is employee without s. Don't forget this. Okay, the next thing, we have to run this query and we will save the result in our result variable. Okay, so how we can run this query? Let's see. To run this query we need our connection, so this connection, so you can see we are using this keyword, means this keyword reference to this class and as well as DB class, because it is extending to DB class. So this will check where is connect, sorry, connect method we are referencing. Okay, so this, it will search connect method in this class. Okay, if it is not there, then it will search in DB. So in DB we have our connect method, and it is returning that connection, means that variable means it is returning the connection. So this connect means this is our connection. All right, and we will call one more inbuilt function, which is query, and we will pass our query string, which is SQL. All right, so this line will run our query. So now we have result in our result variable. So we are fetching all the record from employees table. Okay, so in result we have our result. So we are checking if there is result, means if a result row count. So row count is one more inbuilt function which will count the rows, how many rows we have selected, means how many rows we are fetching. Okay, this will give me a row count, and if this is more than 0, means something like this, more than 0, then so now we need a while loop, and row is equal to result, one more inbuilt function which is fetch. So this while loop will run how many times, how many records we have inside our database. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to take all the records and put in one array. So how I can do that? Okay, so I am taking one data empty array. Okay, and I'll put that our row inside this data array. So each time it will put our one row in data array. Finally we have to return that data array. Okay, that's it for this file. And now I'm going to index.php, and here we have to fetch our record. The first thing, so we need all those classes in our index.php because we are going to use that objects, that classes. Okay, so basically normally what we would do, PHP and require once, and or require once, and I would include that employee.php which is in classes. So classes employee.php, and I would include db also. So so we need db on top, so require once, that is also in classes folder, so classes and db.php. okay, yeah. So what if we have many files, many classes, like 10, 15 or 100 classes? If you have big project, then you would have 100 or 200 classes. So we cannot write like this 200 times or 100 times, no. So for this, in PHP we have a magic function. So the reason that I told why class name and file name should be same, the reason is this autoload function. So function, this is magic method, so double underscore autoload, and what this method does I'll explain in a minute or second. Okay, let me write first. So I'll pass one class variable and I'll write here the require once, and I'll write classes and that class variable class dot php. So whenever we will need that class, so this function will be called and it will say require once classes, this folder, and class.php, which is this class, and whichever class we need, that class will be included magically. Yeah, so we don't have to write every time that require once class.php or require once db.php. okay, whichever class we need, that will be automatically will be loaded. That's why the function name is autoload. okay, so it is loading all the classes automatically. All right, now on our page, I think we need one more column here. To it will have two buttons, one will be edit and second will be delete. So we can edit or delete any record from here, so let's add that. So after designation, I'll just copy this, paste, and I'll call this action. okay, so we need one more td which will have a anchor tag. Right now href will keep empty. Can say edit and one more anchor tag, I'll say delete. okay, we can add some bootstrap class to tile it. So class btn small and btn primary, and here also delete button. So class btn, these all are bootstrap classes, guys. btn small, sm and small, and btn danger, so it will give that red color. Okay, let's check in the browser how it looks now. Refresh, and you can see we have two buttons, but we need some padding in between, so I'm going to use a non-breaking space, this one. So actually this adds space. Refresh and see, now you have good looking edit and delete buttons. So our data is static right now, so what we can do, we need to dynamically display this data. So I'll delete this tr and I'll delete this one also. So we have only one tr. Let's check. Alright, so here we want to fetch our records and loop through, so it will show all the records. So for that, just before this tr, because we are going to loop this tr, so above this we need to make instance of that object which is employee, because we want to call this method. So for that we need PHP. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to save that object in a variable called employee, and we'll create that object instance of the object. So new, the class name is employee. Okay, so now we have access to this class and we can call all the functions in of this class. So here I'll call, which is select method. Okay, I'll call this select method. So here I can say this employee variable and select. Okay, and what this select does, it fetches data from the database and it returns that data. Okay, so we have data, we can save that data in rows or anything you can name. You can name it anything. Yeah, so we have data in our rows variable. So now you can use for each loop to loop all the data. So for each, okay, we don't need this. Okay, variable which is our rows, which is array, rows as single row. So I'll copy this and we will put inside this. Alright, but we have a problem here. We need to close PHP here because this is HTML and this is PHP, so we'll close that PHP here. And again, to close that for each loop, we need to open PHP again, and again we are closing that here. Okay, you can see have closed. So our loop starts from here and ends here, so this will be repeated. Alright, so here will be PHP, we can write echo row and which column in database, ID, semicolon. Here will be name, so I'll write PHP, closing PHP, echo row and name. I can simply copy to save time and paste. Here I will have city and here designation. Okay, so let's see how it looks in our browser. Yeah, so you can see we have John Doe, Jack Smith and all the data from our database. So this is all dynamic now, and you can see we have successfully fetched our data from the database. So that's it guys for this video. In the next video we will complete our insert part, and if you like this video please subscribe, like and share. If you have any problem with the code you can write in comment. Take care, bye bye.